Hello, this is Dief, man, and welcome to episode 8 of Dee's vlog. As you can tell, I have the sunglasses back on. This is not a throwback to my premiere episode. The fact of the matter is that, yes, I did have another late night up last night. I was up until about 20 to 4 last night. But don't worry, I wasn't talking to anyone. Well, technically it was, but this person was helping me with an application that I was filing. So thank you, G, for helping me out in that regard. So just wanted to get that out to begin with. Today I want to talk about something that's going on in the Canadian political system right now. For those of you who haven't been watching the news lately, there has been a dispute in the Canadian federal parliament where the opposition party is trying to overthrow the current minority government, trying to gain power. This all started about a couple weeks or so ago when the Federal Progressive Conservative Party, led by Prime Minister Stephen Harper, they just won an federal election back in October. So they got back to Parliament, and their Minister of Finance, Jim Flaherty, issued an economic statement where basically the status of the economics of the country, and it did not go over very well. The main point that really stuck out was when the Conservatives were proposing slashing campaign funding for future elections as it pertained to the opposition. Now, you can pretty much tell if you're going to slash funding for opposition parties, you know that's pretty much a big wad of dynamite that's going to like blow up in their faces, and sure enough, it did. Almost to the point where the opposition, consisting of the Liberals, the New Democrat Party, and the Bloc Québécois, were all going to form a coalition government and overthrow the Conservatives and try to run the country that way. They figure we've already been through 4 federal elections in the past 6 years, and they didn't want us going back to the polls again, so they're planning on forming this coalition government and trying to run the country that way. There's only been one time that the Canadian government has ever been in a coalition government like this, and that was probably back in the, well, it was years ago, I know that much, and that lasted maybe about a year and a half. But so they were trying to do this. Harper getting gun shy about this. He went to the Governor General and asked for a suspension of the Parliament, known as a Prorogue. Now that pretty much made things hit the fan for the time being. So he suspended Parliament. But here's the thing. They're going to come back to the Parliament after the Christmas break in late January. January 26th, I believe the date is. And the day after, they're going to table the federal budget. Here's the thing. Federal budget is a non-confidence vote matter. So if the federal budget on January 27th gets voted down, guess what? We're back to square one again. So if it gets voted down, we have 2 options. Either Harper and the Conservatives step down and they form this form this coalition government, the Liberals, NDP, and the Bloc, or Harper will ask Governor General to suspend Parliament to conduct another federal election. And that's something the Canadians don't really want this soon. So, because we've been pretty much burned with federal elections over the years, and this would not happen if it was kept on being like a minority government the past 2 federal elections. I guess people are tired of the conservatives, and they really don't want to wield that much power. But it's pretty much let's just say Ottawa's going to hell in a handbasket because of all this. And it's aggravating the Canadian public. I know it aggravates me. And I don't want to see a coalition government. I don't want to see the Conservatives in power again. So what can you do? You're pretty much stuck with these people without much of a choice. The problem is we don't have a charismatic candidate like Barack Obama did in the last United States federal election. If we had a federal candidate who was that charismatic, that appealing to the public, then we really wouldn't have all this much of a problem. But unfortunately, we're stuck with Stephen Harper, the Conservatives, Jack Layton of the NDP, Gilles Duceppe of the Bloc, and originally it was going to be Stéphane Dion leading the Liberals, but he just recently stepped down and is in the midst of, and the Liberals are right now in the midst of a leadership candidate. I guess Liberal Party supporters are pretty gun shy after Dion pretty much shot himself in the foot during the federal debates. I'm like, carbon tats my ass. I'm like, I can understand it's a good concept, but using that as your main election platform, you're pretty much screwing yourself over in the process. So, pretty much the Liberals are now in the midst of a campaign race. According to the papers recently, all the other leadership candidates are out. So, the lead candidate right now, and probably the next leader of the Liberal Party, will be Daniel Ignatieff. Excuse me. So if the coalition government forms, look for this Ignatieff guy to be your new prime minister. And pretty much it's just a whole headache for Canadian voters. So I hope it doesn't go to another federal election, but I think that's the most sane thing that can happen right now, because coalition government, I don't think it'll work that well, especially when one of your main components is a party that's only interested in the rights and interests of Quebec and are also admitted separatists. And like, that's the Bloc Québécois, who want to eventually separate from Canada, but that's a whole different ball of wax altogether. And personally, I think forming a coalition government with those guys, that's a pretty big mistake, and a power gag just waiting to explode. So that's pretty much my view on the federal government right now in Ottawa. It's a hell of a mess, and I just hope it doesn't go down the coalition route, and although most people won't be very fond of it, I say having another federal election so soon is the best way to go. And that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching episode 8. Episode 9 coming up in next week. And thank you for watching.